Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to look at EFS. So what is EFS? Well, EFS stands for Elastic File System, and it's a file storage service for Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud or EC2 instances. So it's similar to EBS, except where you've got EBS, you can only mount your virtual disk to one EC2 instance, and that's just the way it works. You cannot have an EC2 instance, two EC2 instances sharing an EBS volume. However, you can have them sharing an EFS volume. So EFS is an easy way to use and provide a simple interface that allows you to create and configure file systems quickly and easily. And with EFS, storage capacity is elastic, growing and shrinking automatically as you add and remove files, so your applications have the storage they need when they need it. So it is actually really cool. Basically, if you provision an EFS instance, it will just grow automatically. So you could put like a 1 terabyte file on there, and then add another terabyte. You don't need to pre-provision storage like you do with EBS. So EFS is a way, it's great for basically file servers. It's a great way to share files between different EC2 instances. So as always, the best way to learn EFS is to go in and start using it. What we're going to do is we're going to create two little EC2 instances. We're going to run a bootstrap script on them to install some tools as well as Apache. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go and mount this, our var www HTML directory to an EFS mount point. And then that way we only need one copy of our website, or our website will be stored on EFS. And when we go and update or make changes to it, we're just those changes are replicated automatically across all our EC2 instances. So if you've got the time, please join me in the AWS console. Okay, so here I am in the AWS console. EFS is under storage, so if we click in here. Now I am in the Canada Central region. I just wanted to show you that it's not supported here just yet. So do change it to a region that is supported. And you can actually see it quite easily. If you go into a supported region, you'll see that some are grayed out. So I'm going to do this in the Irish region, and we're going to go ahead and create our file system. And it is actually pretty simple. Basically, you choose the availability zones that you want your file system to be in, and then you just go ahead and hit next. And we're going to do it to our default VPC. We can turn on encryption at rest if we want, and that will use KMS. I am going to turn that on. And next, I'm just going to hit next, and I'm going to go ahead and create my file system. So it is literally that simple. It really is very, very quick. And it can take up to 90 seconds for your DNS to propagate. So if you launch your EC2 instances and you can't, for some reason, mount your EFS, you do have to wait a little bit. So let's go ahead and launch our EC2 instances. So we're going to go back over to services, and we're going to go over to EC2. And I've already got an instance in here. I'm just going to terminate it. It's from our bootstrap lecture. So I'm just going to terminate that now. And then I'm going to go ahead and launch two new instances. So we're going to use the Amazon Linux 2 AMI. I'm going to use a T2 micro. The number of instances I'm going to change to 2. And then I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to advanced details. And we're going to pass it a bootstrap script. Now this bootstrap script is available in the resources section of the course. All it's doing is running a yum update. It's installing Apache to make this a web server. It's going to start the Apache service. It's going to make sure Apache turns back on if our EC2 instance reboots. And then it's going to install the Amazon EFS utils tool. So that's all it does. Very, very simple. And we'll need this to mount our EFS volume. So let's copy that into our clipboard, and I'm just going to paste it over here. And next I'm going to go in and add my storage. I'm going to leave that as default. I'm not going to add any tags. I'm going to go to my existing security group. I'm going to go to WebDMZ, and I'm going to go hit review and launch, and I'm going to go ahead and launch that and acknowledge that I've got access to that key pair. Now, it is now launching. There is one more step that we have to do. So when we created our EFS file system, we launched that into the default security group, whereas these two EC2 instances have gone into our WebDMZ. Now, they also have to be associated with our default security group in order for them to be able to talk to EFS. So if we go over to actions, I don't know if I can do this yet until it comes back up online, but here we go. So I'm just going to go to change security group, and I'm just going to associate it with my default one, and I'm going to do it for this one as well. So actions, and then go over to networking, change security group, and I'm going to make sure that it's associated with the default one as well. So that's all we needed to do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to SSH into these two different EC2 instances. So I'm going to open them up in two different tabs in my terminal. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount our EFS file system. So I'm just going to copy this public IP address into my clipboard. Okay, so I've got two tabs open. Just going to type SSH EC2 and then -user and then and then my public IP address, and then it's london.pem. I'm going to hit yes, and that has now connected. And then I'm just going to check that Apache has been installed. So if I just go over to my cd var www HTML directory, we can see that it does exist. So I'll go back a directory, so cd ... I'm going to clear the screen. Now to get the command that we need to go back over to EFS. So I'm back in the AWS console. I'm just going to go to EFS. And in here, if we just click on this file system, you'll see that it has mount instructions. And in here, you don't really need to worry about reading this. We already installed this using our Bootstrap script. But down here, it will give us the command to mount our file system. So we have two different options here. We can just mount it normally, or we can mount it with TLS. If we mount it with TLS, that means all communication between our EC2 instance and our EFS file system is going to be encrypted. So you probably do want to do that because we did turn encryption at rest. And the only thing we're going to change here is not this we're going to change this EFS to our var www.html directory. So let's go back over to our EC2 instance. I'm going to paste this in here, and I'm just going to remove this EFS, and I'm just going to say var www and then html. And that will then go ahead and mount this. Now it can take a little bit of time, it does pause for a little bit, but there you go, it has been done. So if we go into our HTML directory and type ls, there's nothing in here right now, but let's go ahead and write a very simple little web page. So again, we're just going to do some HTML, and then, whoops, and then we're going to do our header, and then we're going to say, hello, cloud gurus from EFS. And then I'm going to end my header, and then I'm going to end my HTML. And then I'm going to close that off, and then I'm going to output it, so that way, to my index.html. And it didn't like that exclamation mark, so I'm just going to remove it and put it in here. So there we go. That has now outputted it to index.html. And if I cat that, if I type index.html and hit enter, there we go. We can see my little web page in there. So the next thing we're going to do is go over to our second EC2 instance. So I'm just going to grab the public IP address of my second EC2 instance. Okay, so I'm in my second EC2 instance. All I need to do is type SSH EC2, then -user, and then I'm going to use my -i and then london.pem. And I'm going to go ahead and connect in. I'm going to elevate my privileges to root, and I'm going to go over to my var www HTML directory. And you can see that that is there now. Just going to clear the screen. Now, if I type in ls in here, you can see that that directory is empty. I'm back in the console. I'm just going to go back to EFS, and I'm going to go over in here, and I'm going to grab that command. And you can see in here, by the way, this isn't random letters and numbers. This is actually the address of your file system. So you can see it in there. So make sure that this matches that command, but it should auto-populate. So I'm just going to go in and grab this command. So I'm going to do it using TLS and copy that into my clipboard. And then I'm going to paste it in here, but rather than doing it to the EFS directory, I'm going to do it to my var www and then HTML directory. Okay, and I've just cleared the screen. If I type in ls, we can now see index.html. So I'm just going to cat that and make sure that it is correct. So there it is. And then if I go in and make a change, let's go in and nano this file, or we can just create a new file even. We could do echo. This is a test, and we're going to output that to test.txt. And now if I type in ls, I can see test.txt. If I go back over here, I'm just going to clear the screen and type in ls, we can see test.txt. And I'm back in the AWS console. If I just go back up to EC2 and click on EC2 and go to my running instances, if I grab the IP address of one of them and just copy it into my clipboard, and if I just paste it in here, you'll be able to see that it is serving the same web page. So I can do it from that one, and I could also do it from this one. but it is only one file. So we've got two web servers serving the one file, which is on our EFS volume. So I'll paste it in here. There you go. So we've got exactly the same file being served by two different web servers. So what are my exam tips? Well, EFS supports the Network File System version 4 or NFS v4 protocol. With EFS, you only pay for the storage that you use. There's no pre-provisioning required. It's not like EBS where we have to, say, hey, I want an 8 gig EBS volume. We basically just pay as we go. It can scale up to the petabytes, and it can support thousands of concurrent NFS connections. And then data is stored across multiple availability zones within a region. And in terms of the consistency model, it's always read after write consistency. So you're almost at the end of this section of the course. We're going to have a very quick lecture looking at placement groups in the next lecture, and then we're going to summarize everything that you've learned. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.